Stampers, this is Dawn from DawnStampingThoughts.net, and today we're going to make the Cascading card. Isn't it cute? Now you're going to notice this one's slightly different than this one, and all I did was I added the designer paper to the inside panel right here instead of to the outside. And I'm going to show you how to cut the designer paper to fit on this Cascading card. So then here's another one. Same idea, just a different color cardstock, which is the Whisper White with I believe this is the Confetti Celebration designer paper. Alright, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so we're going to use the baked brown sugar. I thought it would show up probably the best on the camera. So you're going to need 2 pieces of cardstock, and these are cut at 6 by 8. We're going to grab our paper trimmer, and we're going to cut both of these pieces the exact same way. So you're just going to line it up at 3 inches, and I'm going to use my bone folder first to make a little mark here. Okay, so then we're going to take that mark and we're going to line that mark up on the cutting groove with the point down here. Okay, we're going to cut that. Okay, just like that. And we're going to do the same thing to this piece. Going to make the mark at 3 inches. Take that mark and the point, line it up on the groove, and cut. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and score this at 2. Let me get this done here. So we're going to score this at 2, 4, and 6. Do the exact same thing to the other side. 2, 4, and 6. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and fold our score lines. Okay, so there's one section. Okay, so now you're going to want your points. Now this one's the opposite, so I'm going to fold it this way just to show you what I'm talking about. You're going to want your points to go the opposite way here. Okay, so when it goes into your sliding point, these are going to be the top of your points. Okay, so on the first side point, we're going to cut the bottom section about halfway up on the first score line. At the 2-inch score line, cut about halfway up, and then on the 6-inch score line, you're going to cut about halfway up. And if you need to cut more, you're just going to be able to go in and cut a little bit further up. Okay, so you're going to cut the bottom piece on one of your points, and then this is the opposite point. See, this is the opposite point. So now you're going to cut the top part. So 6-inch score line, cut about halfway down, and then the 2-inch score line, cut halfway down. Okay, so now you're going to put your card together. It's going to go together like this. You're going to slide that in like that, and then this front part, the 2-inch score line, is going to slide in together like that, and it's going to connect. Okay, so then you're just going to tap it, and if it folds flush, then you've cut enough. Then to open up the card, you're just going to go ahead and peel the front back, and that's it. That's your Cascading card. Don't you love it? Alright, so now the tricky part is adding the designer paper as a layer on your Cascading card. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, so I have a piece of designer paper. This is the baked brown sugar. And you're going to cut this an 1/8 inch shorter. So you're going to cut this at 5 7/8. And you're going to take this piece here and automatically flip it over, because you want one piece this way, one piece this way, because the card is going to be opposite when you're cutting it. You'll know when you do this card. Okay, so we're just going to focus on this piece with the baked brown sugar side up. So 5 7/8, and then we're going to cut this at 7 5/8. So instead of using the 3-inch score line like we did on the card, we're going to go to 2 7/8 and make your little mark. Let me grab my bone folder. Okay, then we're going to take that point, line it up on the cutting groove with this point down here. I hope that shows up on the camera. Okay, so we're just going to cut just like that. Alright, so now to cut, you're going to flip it over, and you're going to cut at 1 7/8. So it's the 7/8 is right before the 2. So 1 7/8, and you're just going to cut them in pieces of 1 7/8. So you should get 4 pieces. Okay, so now this piece is actually going to be this side showing out. Okay, alright, so now we're going to do the exact same thing with this piece, but we're going to cut it with the chevron side up. Alright, so we're going to cut this at 5 7/8. And then you're going to cut this at 7 7/8. Okay, instead of scoring it at 2 or making your little mark at 3, we're going to do it at 2 7/8. Okay, so you're going to take this point here and put it on your cutting groove with the point of the opposite end, and you're going to cut. This is the most important part, the way you cut your designer paper, because it's going to matter when you layer this onto the card. So once this part is done, then you can go ahead and cut, flip it over, and we're going to cut it at 1 7/8 increments. So you're just going to cut 1 7/8, 1 7/8, 1 7/8, and then 1 7/8. Okay. So now this is the second section that we cut with this side up. Okay, so now it should line up when we put our card together. Okay, let me grab my adhesive. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and decorate the front of the card. Now you're going to notice this section is going to go right here on the front. See that? Okay, so let's go ahead and decorate this side first. You're just going to measure which side you're putting this on. See, now this is going to go on this side right here. Okay? Okay, so far so good. Now this section is going to go inside. Unless you want to put it on the outside, then it's going to go over here. Okay, so it's really totally up to you. But I'm going to put this one on the inside. And you're just going to sit the card up, and you're just going to line this up to the panel and just push that into the cardstock, just like that. Okay? And then this is the back panel, which is going to go over here on this side. Okay? So that's one section of your designer paper. Now we're going to do the other side. So now this piece right here, let me get it. This piece should go on the opposite side. Right here. Yeah, right there, just like that. And this piece is going to go here. Open it up. Okay, then you have the next layer, which is going to go on the inside. Put that in there. Okay, so it looks like that. Alright, so now one more piece. Back. Okay. So that's your cascading card with the designer paper added with the baked brown sugar. Isn't that cute? Okay, so now let's go ahead and make an envelope. We're going to use the envelope punch board. I have another piece of the baked brown sugar. The finished size of this card is 4 by 6. So we're going to use on the envelope punch board, we're going to use the 4.5 by 6.5 inch size. And the cardstock is cut at 8 7/8 by 8 7/8, which is right here. And the very first score line is 3 3/4. Just going to line this up at 3 3/4 right there. You're going to punch and score. And then we're just going to ignore this measuring. Remember, we're just going to follow this little tag here, the score line. Punch and score. Okay, so let's go ahead and round the corners. I'm going to run these two here. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and fold our score lines. Okay, I'm going to use the fast fuse. Hold this up. And then your card slides right in there. And you have some wiggle room in there. So if you want to decorate it, you know, like I used with the Back to Black designer paper, and I used the butterflies. So you have about 1/2 inch wiggle room there. And then that's it. See, there's your envelope for this really awesome card. Okay, so there's the baked brown sugar. So then this one, like I said, is slightly different. I just put the designer paper, instead of the inside, I put it on the outside. It's like that. It's totally up to you. Okay, so there's that one. And this one. And then the Tangerine Tango one. Okay, so that's it. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you later. Bye.